Let's go straight into what we have for you today. Now, good morning and welcome to FCT Brief. Today we'll be looking at how to strengthen the fight against crime through building stronger partnerships at the grassroots. Across the country, communities are increasingly recognizing that security can no longer be left solely in the hands of conventional agencies. With rising urban expansion, limited manpower, and the growing sophistication of criminal networks, private guards and community intelligence systems are emerging as vital support structures in preventing and responding to threats.
But what does effective integration look like? How do we ensure professionalism, accountability, and clear coordination between private security outfits, local communities, and formal law enforcement agencies? And more importantly, how can these partnerships help plug intelligence gaps and enhance early warning systems in both rural and urban areas? To help us look into these concerns, we are joined this morning by security expert, Dr. Chris Adigwu. He brings deep industry insights into the evolving role of private guards and how community-driven intelligence can reshape Nigeria's internal security landscape. Dr. Adigwu, it's great to have you here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
All right, we're talking about, a lot of time we talk about redesigning the Nigerian security architecture.
Yeah.
And we have the military, we have the police, we have the NSCDC. And now we're talking about the private guards. How can the nation integrate private guards into national security? Take an example of countries like the US, the UK, the United Arab Emirates, South Africa that has a well-trained and integrated private security guards into that security architecture. Will it make any difference if we have it like that in Nigeria?
Well said. The private security industry in Nigeria is large. Happens to be one of the biggest employers of labor in this country, spread across the nook and cranny of the country. We engage almost about 4.5 million Nigerians in that space. We can be very helpful in terms of intelligence gathering. We have our men virtually in every urban city in Nigeria. We protect almost close to about 85% of our critical national infrastructure. You find our operatives in the maritime sector, in the aviation sector, in fact, in the oil and gas sector. One of us happens to be one of the biggest players in terms of protection of critical assets in that sector. All we are asking the government, which the government has taken a very bold step in that direction, is to fully engage, fully integrate this sector, which will be of great help in reducing the workload or burden on the statutory actors.
Speaking about this integration, and it's good that you established that, your men are scattered all across sectors in Nigeria. Very recently, President Tinubu has ordered the withdrawal of policemen from, high-profile individuals. And this will ordinarily or naturally shift attention towards the private security outfits. Now, how much of an impact do you think this pivot will have on, Nigeria's broader security architecture in terms of capacity and also coordination?
The regulatory framework is germane to your question because we are still operating under an outdated law, the PGC Act of 1986, which does not align with current security challenges we are facing as a nation. So for the PGCs, when we have the right tools, the right equipment, I believe strongly that would typically make a very big big impact in the internal security management of the country.
So you're saying that, the PGC only deals with intelligence, not necessarily in the crux of, security matters?
I mentioned earlier that we protect over 85% of our critical national infrastructure. Even the GENCOs, the DISCOs, the telecommunication companies, in the oil and gas sector, we are active already in those areas. But we don't have the right tools to confront the current challenges we are facing as a nation.
Okay. Okay, continue.
I'm being a little bit conservative with but we are not equipped to do the work.
Now, when you say we are not equipped,
yes,
these are private security entities.
Yes.
In other words, they are businesses of individuals. So you're expecting that the system, the government will provide equipment, or you're saying that the enabling laws does not permit certain capacity of equipment. So let's understand when you say we do not have.
Yes. You cannot operate outside the laws that govern your business. For instance, as of today in Nigeria, we cannot fight insurgency, we cannot help with certain critical information just with whistle. That is what the law permits the private guards to.
Whistle.
Just whistle. And we have well-rounded personnel in this sector. And if you check in the last couple of years, almost virtually every retired military personnel who retired either prematurely or whatever, they are all in the private security space. Most of them are also working with us. So much wisdom, so much intelligence, so much experience. But they cannot go outside the law to carry out their functions or duties or responsibilities.
No. Quite interesting revelation there. And I would like to ask, I believe one fear of government is this private outfits degenerating into, political instruments or parallel armed groups, like we have the militias now in the country. How would you say, or what outfits or what structures do you believe that government can put in place to, forestall this kind of problem emanating in the sense before it gives, access to quality arms like beyond the whistle that you mentioned?
Okay, let me point out something here. We have the forest guards. Are they not private citizens? They bear arms. We have the vigilantes. Are they not private citizens? Because they are in the security, they bear arms. We have the Omotecos. Are they not private citizens? They also bear arms.
So it is the government recognition you don't have now? Because those ones have government recognition backing.
Yes, they have the backing to also bear arms to do their job. And mind you, the private guards companies is not just about man guarding. A lot of our members are into electronic or technology, drones, and every other aspect. There are a lot of sub-specializations in the private security space. That's why I say we are virtually everywhere. If our capacity is optimized by the state, it will go a very long way in bringing down this level of insecurity we find in our country.
Security also has a lot to do with intelligence gathering and all of that. Now, don't you think one other fear of government will be intelligence leaks, peradventure that the government now integrates the private guards into its security architecture? Won't we have cases of more intelligence, because we already have it now? Won't we have this case increase if we leave our intelligence in the hands of private persons?
Because of the nature of our business, which has to do with security, which is also an essential service, already we are not operating in isolation. We are under the Ministry of Interior, being supervised and monitored by Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. Before you set up a private security company, the owners will be vetted by the Department of State Security Service. So it's not a question of an industry that is operating in isolation. Government cannot leave the work of security and say, oh, because they are no. All we are saying, set the parameters, give the enabling laws to also bring out the best in this group of persons who are providing essential services to help maintain the internal security of the country.
All right, we'll still come back to these issues, but that'll be right after this quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll still have more. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The world needs moms. With a splash of golden terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Change no thanks into yes please. Resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty family meals is all that matters. Where there are moms, there is love. Golden Terra Oil, pour pure love.
We're glad to have you back. We're still back to our topic on integrating private security into Nigeria's security architecture.
Yeah, we left off talking about how to make the private security guards more effective and more integrated into the security apparatus of the nation. Now, talk to us about the 1986 Act. You said it's an outdated act. Yes. Now, what are those specific changes you think will sharpen the private security guards? Because we can't, as a nation, keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. We now have security challenges that we never envisaged before. So if we must integrate these private guards, what are those things in the 1986 Act that must change to give it a better effect?
Yes. In any sector, regulation is the key word. And if at the time the 1986 PGC Act was enacted, we didn't have this level of challenges we have now. Also, the world has evolved. 1980s, we were talking about 30-something, how many years? The world has evolved. So also in our space, you have other specialities that were not captured in the PGC Act. Also, in line with the current challenges we are facing, the Act also restricts. We're not in that Act, you are not even allowed to carry baton.
You're not allowed to carry baton?
Yes. There are a lot of restrictions. And you can imagine the act that was enacted in 1986 during the military era. You won't expect such an act to empower anybody in the private space to be that equipped to carry out that function. It's just like bearing of arms bearing. But if you ask what are the challenges in Nigeria today, if you ask me to name 10, the 10 will be security. So we have an act that needs to realign. And it could just be better repealed. You know, we've been having a lot of support from the Federal Ministry of Interior under the leadership of Honorable Dr. Olubumitunji Ojo. You know, trying to bring out the best in the sector. But also they also realize that the laws need to be amended to actually give back to the direction we are all heading to. Because it's still a sector that needs to be professionalized. It's still a sector that needs to also be standardized. So we have our own work to do.
Speaking of repealing the act, how far have your group or groups of private outfits gone in pushing for or approaching the National Assembly to voice these concerns? Because everybody agrees that security is quite a big issue now in Nigeria, and we're looking for all the help that we can get. And if we have a security outfit that is almost inactive, I don't think that is something that anybody will want to buy. Now, how are you pushing your case at the National Assembly?
We are having engagements with those stakeholders. Also, from the part of the Ministry of Interior, which is actually the licensing authority as regards the private gas companies, a lot has been going on, and I believe there's a draft bill in the pipeline which will actually address, but we need it to come now quickly.
So does this check by the Ministry of Interior involve a centralized background check and biometric database, or is there a need for that to, register every private security outfit under a certain database? Does that exist?
For now, that is in the pipeline, but the individual companies do that. We'll run background check on our operatives before we engage them.
Okay. Now, during registration, also you talked about that there is this background check with the DSS to ascertain the owners of this security outfit. Yeah. But if you take a look at the licensed private security operators in Nigeria, sometimes you see a lot of people operate in this sector, and you feel that do they really have business to be in here? I'm talking about capacity. Now, if you're engaging the National Assembly to kind of repeal the 1986 Act, are you also doing a retrospect amongst operators in this to upgrade your capacity? Because it's also about capacity. It's not just about equipment. Yes. It's a professional outfit. So talking about capacity, are you also looking at how to make sure that your members, your people in that space do things the way it should be done? Not just because they want to make money.
Yes, we're doing that. Just like in every other sector, you'll find persons who don't have business with that sector playing in the sector. But as an industry, we are working day in, day out to professionalize the industry, also to standardize to best international practice. And that's why you find the issue is not just on the operatives you engage. Under which standards are they working? Did they see it as a job, just a stopgap job? Can they build career? Is there career paths? All those are being worked on, and that is what we've been doing in the last couple of years. We are working from inside out, ensuring that we also professionalize that sector. That's why we say we are doing what we need to do on our own part as an industry. We are also asking for that support because of the nature of our business.
Let's also look at the regulatory agencies. NSC, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense, is regulating. You're also under the operations of the Ministry of Interior.
Yeah.
Is there a conflict in here?
No, there's no conflict. There's no conflict. Okay. The ministry is in charge.
The ministry is in charge.
That the minister is the authority.
He has the political control.
He has the control. He assigns any officer or agent in his ministry. Then the Civil Defense Acts also give them that supervisory and monitoring capacity under the minister. The minister is the authority.
Now, I'm taking you somewhere because in 1986, when this act that is guiding the operation of private security was enacted, there was nothing like civil defense. So civil defense came long after 1986.
Yes.
So how does that now come in because you already had an act in 1986.
Yes.
That the civil defense came long after then. So how do you now get that law? I don't understand. The law that guides your operation.
The Private Gas Company Act
1986.
of 1986
did not envisage civil defense. Did not envisage civil defense.
I would say did not envisage civil defense.
Okay.
Because when you say civil defense 2003, you know, they lost 2000 civil defense out of 2003 and 2006 and the loss of the Federation of 2010. The Ministry or Internal Affairs then is the one in charge. Civil Defense is one of the agencies under Ministry of Interior.
Okay.
Civil Defense is also the agency assigned to play that supervisory role of monitoring and supervising the private gas company.
Okay.
All right. Because of the nature of the private security outfits, I believe you'll be working a lot more with the locals in terms of intelligence gathering and all of that. Now, with deep ethnic and religious tensions, how do we ensure that community intelligence systems are not weaponized for setting local scores or settling local scores rather than actually combating crime?
I will digress a little bit on that question.
Fine.
There's something we need to begin to teach ourselves afresh as a country. That is the word patriotism. Patriotism. Beyond religious sentiments, beyond tribal sentiments, beyond any other sentiment you think about, for us to think Nigeria first. When we have that mind of thinking Nigeria first, beyond any other thing, the issue of where you get your intelligence from, when you are, if you are a security operative, when you say you get intelligence, you get all sorts of intelligence. What are the reasons behind this? You need to get, with good intelligence, you can actually preempt a lot of incidences.
Also, we're also talking about.
I don't know whether I addressed that.
Yeah.
Because the issue of religious sentiments, whatever. When we see Nigeria as Nigeria, anything that endangers the internal security of Nigeria, whether you are from Taraba or you are from you are a Tima, you are a Fulani, you are an Igbo man, you think Nigeria first. And you alert the security agencies.
And I quite agree with you because when you have that patriotic mindset, that division does not come in play. But we'll discuss more about that right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. There's more. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with FCT Brief. Now we'll wrap up our conversation with Dr. Chris Adigwu.
Yeah. We left off talking about community policing. Now,
yes.
And in December, the National Assembly is already thinking about a national security summit.
Yeah.
Now, if you're invited into this summit to present the paper, how essential do you think the private security guards will be in operating at that community level to help? Because it should be a bottom-top approach now from community policing to the centralized policing. So how involved do you think the private security guards can help change the narrative of what we do have at the moment?
Well, we will make a very big difference. Like I mentioned earlier on in this conversation, we have the numbers, we have the boots on ground, we have the technical know-how, we have the experience, we have experienced personnel. We are the most viable, let me not use the word tool, persons on ground in terms of security to provide credible intelligence to the state actors. Any conference we're having today without the PGCs is not complete.
Well,
any security conference without the PGCs.
You agree with me that a lot of budgeting has gone into fighting insecurity in the country, and this also integrating the PGCs will also require funding. Now, what is going to be different this time around if we bring in another security outfit into the already wide security architecture that we have, and we're pumping in money and we're seeing little to no result? What will make this different?
You know, the beauty of this conversation, not as if we are just coming afresh. We've been there.
Well, we're not integrating.
We've been there. Whether officially, we've been there. We are under government regulation. All we are saying is that the regulation is not giving us enough space to express our professionalism. When you go to the airport, without mentioning the name of any company, there are people that check your passports. They are our members. Before you board, there are people that also vet you and check your whatever before you board. They are there at the counters. Our major earner as a country is crude oil. One of us is the biggest player in that area. Even coordinating some of the state actors. So we have been there. When you go to, when you check any of these telecommunication masts, you see our people there. When you go to the discos, you go to the Gencos, they are there. When you go to the INEC office, we are there. When you go to Federal Ministry of Finance, we are there. When you go to Central Bank of Nigeria, where you see, we are virtually everywhere in our national life. But one way or the other, we are just looking at these people as but all we need is to give us more support. And probably, I don't want to go that way, but the truth of the matter, I want to thank the #1 citizen of this country. He just made a very big move by withdrawing policemen from VIPs. That is our job. A space has been opened for us. But for us to do it effectively, equip us to do it. Change the laws to give us an enabling environment for us to do our job. Give us the necessary support. Back to the COVID days, there was a pandemic. What happened? Almost every hospital was supported. We have a security pandemic now.
All right.
Yes. So we need, all hands need to be on deck.
Indeed, all hands need to be on deck, sure. Dr. Chris Adigwu, and we definitely hope that government is hearing to equip your private guard security with all the help it needs to improve its services. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being a part of our conversation. We'll now hand you over to Lagos, where Ria and the rest of the team are standing by to continue with the rest of the show.
All right. Thank you so much, TJ Su. Quite a fantastic conversation from Abuja. Thank you.